We'll now go to the official the independent members, and we'll go to MPP Fraser.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I want to thank the Minister for being here this morning to answer a few questions. Of course, I don't have a lot of time, so you'll have to excuse my question that will meander, but it will make a point. I think the super-indexing of benefits is something that's favorable towards workers. There's no question about that. It's unclear to me the criteria by which those decisions will be made. My assumption is that it's going to come from surplus funds and WSIB, and it will be interesting, and I'll get back to this in my question, about how the determination of that super-indexing happens. Whether it's 2%, a quarter percent, 0.5%, 3%, would be interesting to know the rationale. Now, there are two things you can do with a surplus. You can provide more benefits, or three things. You can reduce rates, and you can expand coverage. And in this bill, you've expanded coverage for firefighters, which I think is a great thing. It's a great thing. Now, there are a lot of workers in Ontario who are not covered. And for 6 years, I have introduced 5 times and debated twice, I think you may be aware of this bill, coverage for workers in residential care facilities and Group Homes Act. These are mostly women who are PSWs, developmental service workers, who, because their employer is who they are, they don't get covered. But people doing similar work in similar situations are getting covered by WSIB. And the reason that this is important is that, first of all, these people care for the people who we care for most. It's dangerous work. It's dangerous work. And many of them work more than 1 or 2 jobs. And what happens is if you get injured on one job and you don't have coverage, you're not covered by private insurers. You get paid for that one job you have. Under WSIB, workers would get paid for their lost income. So, I appreciate what the minister's doing with super-indexing. I appreciate what the minister's doing with esophageal cancer. And I guess the thing I'm trying to determine is how do we actually, the point of WSIB is to make sure that as many Ontarians as possible are protected in the workplace. So, I'm just trying to, I would like to know how you're going to determine, I think I know where the money's coming from, how you're going to determine that super-indexing, but how are you going to create a balance to make sure that, for instance, these, as I say, personal service workers, developmental service workers, who are mostly women working more than one job, will be covered the same as the people who are doing it that are working in a long-term care facility or working in a provincially run facility. It's unfair that they're not covered, and I've been on it for about 6 years, and that's why I'm using my 5 minutes this morning to ask you how we're going to get them covered.
Thanks. Thank you, MPP Fraser, and thank you for the work you are doing on that. And I look forward to when the legislature resumes getting critical path charted out with you. I recall this being, I think, put the day or within a few days after becoming a minister, and we'd had a chat right thereafter about that critical path. So I think, I'll start by saying, let's sit down and chart out a path forward. I appreciate finding common ground on where we can increase WSIB supports for workers. I hear what you're saying, and I believe MPP Brady on rationales, and had a good conversation.
1 minute remaining.
Cunningham and Coca on that. Bottom line is we've got a healthy WSIB, a WSIB that is stable. We don't need to look back too far to see a time when premiums were high, when injured workers didn't have the supports that they had today, and when those manufacturing jobs were leaving. But today, there is more stability there. I appreciate you recognizing these aren't tax dollars; these are employer dollars that are put in. We're taking steps to go after bad employers and to make sure that we're protecting injured workers, expanding that coverage. As I said to MPP Jalina and West and others, always willing to sit down on ways we can expand coverage for in particular heroes on the front line. So We obviously want a healthy WSIB that has a sufficiency ratio and a surplus, and that those surpluses are going back.
Thank you,
to
Minister, for your
workers.
time today and for your presentation. I will now
Thank you
call.
very much, Chair.
Go ahead, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity and appreciate everyone's time and questions. And I look forward to sitting down with everyone to continue. And I've made notes of their comments, and I look forward to sitting down with you when the legislature resumes. Thanks all.
Thank you.